had that eerie feeling something is off with reality? Like a scene from The Matrix. Sometimes the real world seems to stutter or glitch, and it's all caught on live TV. From news anchors freezing mid-sentence to ghostly figures strolling through stadiums, these bizarre televised moments have left viewers wondering if we're all characters in some cosmic video game. Strap in, because today we're counting down real-life live TV glitches that are so freaky and unexplained they might just convince you we're living in a simulation. Imagine watching a live news report and suddenly the reporter's words turn into total gibberish. That's exactly what happened during a CBS Los Angeles broadcast from the 2011 Grammy Awards. Viewers were stunned when reporter Serene Branson went from speaking normally to uttering a string of nonsensical sounds on live TV.
Well, a very, very heavy debatation tonight. We had a very Darrison.
She visibly panicked as she realized something was wrong, leading many to fear that she was having a stroke on air. Paramedics rushed to examine her, and thankfully, her vital signs were normal. It turned out Serene had suffered a complex migraine that mimicked stroke-like symptoms, causing sudden aphasia or speech impairment. In other words, her brain glitched, scrambling her speech. The clip went viral as a real-life Matrix moment, a healthy young reporter seemingly malfunctioning without warning. It was a scary sight, but also a relief when we learned it wasn't a true stroke. Still, for a few seconds of live TV, it felt like reality itself had briefly broken down. A famous weatherman suddenly freezes like an NPC caught in lag. On the Today Show in 2012, co-hosts Savannah Guthrie and Matt Lauer finished a silly dance joking about leaving room for the Holy Ghost between dance partners. That's when Al Roker, the beloved NBC weatherman, did the unthinkable. He stared directly into the camera, motionless with a goofy grin for a full 17 seconds. He didn't blink, didn't move a muscle. It was as if someone hit the pause button on Al Roker. Roker later explained that it was a bit of deadpan humor, essentially a brain freeze challenge he did on purpose. The show's director egged him on to see how long he could hold the pose, and Al committed to the bit. Even so, watching it back, many viewers felt a chill. The moment looked so uncanny that it's now a classic glitch in the Matrix clip. During a live soccer match, a shadow person sprinted through the stands, and no one can agree if it was a glitch, a ghost, or just a camera trick. This incident happened at a stadium in La Paz, Bolivia, during a Fox Sports broadcast in 2014. In the footage, you see a dark, human-shaped figure running rapidly across the lower tier seats straight through the crowd, yet no one in the audience seems to react to it. Viewers at home were creeped out. Was it a ghost caught on live TV? Rational explanations soon emerged. Lighting snafu or video artifact, basically a technical glitch that made a real person's image smear across the screen. But that hasn't stopped wild theories. The clip went viral, with some saying the stadium is haunted or that we witnessed a Matrix running program acting up. What's freakier than one person glitching? How about two people glitching together? Twin sisters Paula and Bridget Powers from Australia gave an interview that left viewers' jaws on the floor. They were recounting a dramatic carjacking incident involving their mother, but it wasn't the story that stole the show, it was how they told it. The twins spoke in a mesmerizing stereo, often saying the exact same words at the exact same time during the live interview.
So we drop everything and we went running out the front. We seen Mum running out from the house up there.
At times, one twin would start a sentence and the other would finish it in perfect sync, as if they shared one mind. The effect was so uncanny that the clip went viral worldwide, and even Jimmy Kimmel invited them on his show out of sheer fascination. The sisters themselves just laughed it off, saying their brains think alike at the same time after a lifetime together. Indeed, Paula and Bridget have spent 51 years dressing alike, working together, and practically living in parallel. So, while it seems paranormal, it's likely just an extraordinary sibling bond. Viewers thought they spotted a shape-shifting reptilian on the news, but the truth was more technological. In an old CTV news clip that resurfaced online, a female reporter delivers the headlines when suddenly her eyes appear to glitch. During a blink, her eyes don't look human for a split second, they seem fixed and glazed over, almost like a doll's or a computer-rendered image. Experts explained that it was a rolling screen repaint artifact from the broadcast. Basically, this was an analog TV signal glitch. On old antenna TV, if the signal degrades at the wrong moment, in this case when she blinked, part of the previous frame's data can briefly hold on for a second. The result? Her eyes open from a prior frame overlaid on her face while blinking, creating a creepy illusion that her eyes blinked but didn't close? Technical or not, it looked really freaky, like an NPC in a video game failing to load its textures. Even after hearing the explanation, some joked, sure, that's what they want you to believe.
So this clip aired on CNN in early July 2009, just a couple weeks after Michael Jackson died. They were doing a segment from inside Neverland Ranch, walking through the house with a reporter giving commentary. After the segment aired though, a good number of people flocked to the internet claiming that they'd seen something odd in the footage. So in the background there was this dark, human-shaped figure moving across the far end of the hallway. At first glance, it looks like a shadow, but there are a few things that made people take a second look. First, no one is visible walking around in that area at the time, and there's no crew member seen entering or exiting. That hallway is in full view and nothing else in the frame really explains the movement. And then when people started slowing it down and enhancing the footage, it got weirder. The shadow has a kind of upright human posture. It's not just a flicker of light, and you'll notice the shadow seems to cast its own faint shadow on the floor as it moves across. And then there's the shape itself. Some viewers pointed out the figure kind of matches that classic MJ silhouette, that tilted head, the gliding motion he was known for. Pretty weird stuff. Now, don't you just hate it when the book you're holding morphs into a completely different color? I mean, it just makes life so much more confusing than it needs to be. Watch this. Now, how did his book immediately change color like that? First thought is that he might have had more than one book and then switched them as he was walking behind the car, but that's not what it looks like at all. I don't see any shifting going on. His arms never change position. He's just walking in this smooth, straight line, but then abruptly, book goes from red to green. People posted all kinds of theories, but one dude on Reddit had a pretty interesting answer. User Yodan wrote, "I work graphics for the news. This is 110% some producer for the spot asking for that color change. It's super fast to key the color into another one, but I agree it's a dumb change. Better to have infographics or typography hammer home the point. Someone wanted to make something they thought was cool or cute and told like 2 or 3 other people down the line, just do it if they got pushback. Some days, I just think of reworks at 20 minutes to air. Make the green a blue. Why? Okay, now make the blue a green. Okay." So, yeah, really odd. I did not know changing the color of objects on the news was something they would ever bother with. And also, why didn't they switch the color of the book to green for the entire clip? Why does it go from red to green later on? I don't know. Weird. What would you do if you saw the sky glitch? You make a video about it, of course. TikToker Danny Amos Jr. happened to catch something very weird on camera. He'd been out turkey hunting when he decided to get a nice shot of the sky. The sun was rising. It looked really pretty. Now, as he was panning across the sky, though, something weird happened. Take a look at this. Did you see that weird flash in that one patch of the sky? Pretty bizarre. Now, it'd be easy to chalk this up to a glitch in the camera itself, but take a listen to what he says here.
I wasn't looking through the phone. Like, I was scanning the field, but I was like looking at the field, and I seen the sky do it.
Some people find cats really creepy, and if you're one of those people, this video won't make that aspect of your life any easier for you. I don't know much about this video other than it was filmed somewhere in China. It's pretty amazing. I mean, how eerily still this cat is. This is a pretty long clip, and it does not move. Its tail looks like it flutters in the wind a bit, maybe. People passing by also thought this was strange. They all stopped to stare and pull out their phones to document it. At first, I thought someone placed their taxidermied house cat on the street as a joke. I mean, why else would you stuff your dead pet? But then another cat sidles up and freezes as well. What the hell? Is there some kind of an animal maybe that they're trying to ambush. Cats will go still when they're hunting something, but for this long? And apparently some folks who were there said there were no objects on this section of the street that would have attracted the attention of the animals. So, I don't know. Glitch in the Matrix, or is this just a case of cats being cats, i.e. being weird? Notice anything strange about this image? This photo was shared on Reddit by Veruca Moon. You'll notice that one of the cars ahead has a license plate that says Peekaboo. Pretty cute. Until your eyes catch a car right next to it that says, I see you. Just a quirky coincidence, or is this the universe's subtle way of saying someone's always watching you? That's a creepy thought. If you're thinking the two cars might have been driving together as a joke, well, no. Veruca Moon said that they split off in different directions at the next intersection.
Starting our list off at number 10, Tyson fight glitch. Alright, this one takes place in 1995, and it may be a glitch, but it also could be some sort of wind trick here, but it's just very strange to see a plane that is that close to the ground that isn't either ascending or descending. It's just kind of there. Is it possible that the clear skies made it more difficult to see the movement of the plane? I don't know. Someone help me out in the comments down below because I can't sleep. Number 7, another plane glitch. This video comes from a flight to Edinburgh, which is a flight that I've done many times myself. It's beautiful. The passenger began taking a video of the propeller on the side of the plane when they caught this strange glitch in the Matrix. More than fair. This propeller is of course moving, or else, well, we'd probably know, but it appears as though it is not. How fun is that? It's a fun, scary optical illusion when you're thousands of feet into the air. This is due to the speed of the propeller and the camera's shutter speed, being synchronized, looking a little bit funky. Now we see this often with helicopters, but to see it in a plane that high up from your point of view, that's a bit different. That's a bit more jarring. Number 6, Yanni and Laurel. Remember this Yanni Laurel thing back in 2018? I'm still talking about it. It still fucked me up. I heard Yanni for like 2 weeks, and then one day I listened back and then it was Laurel all of a sudden, and then my life changed forever. Couldn't go back. This got everybody talking. What is this phenomenon that happens? Is this a glitch in the Matrix? How can you hear one thing and then a completely different sound moments later? The dress fiasco as well. Black and blue, white and gold. We see it often. What the hell is actually happening here?
Laurel. 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 Laurel.
While many believe that these viral illusions are proof that we're living in a simulation. And while these arguments are fun, they really just prove that we perceive reality in our own individual way. Everybody is living an individually perceived reality, so sometimes it doesn't align across the board. Sometimes I hear Laurel while you hear Yanni. And now I can't go back, and now I always hear that stuck in my head. It's just Laurel. God, I hated this.
The connection between Sir Anthony Hopkins and the girl from Petrovka is a story that feels like it was just lifted straight out of the movie itself. While preparing for his role in the film adaptation of the novel, Hopkins was eager to read the book to get a better understanding of his character, a real professional. However, despite searching everywhere, he couldn't find a copy. Then, in a very weird twist of fate, he stumbled upon a copy left on a random park bench, as if the universe had placed it there just for him. The story gets even stranger when Hopkins later met the book's author. During their conversation, the author mentioned that he had lent his last copy of the book to a friend who had unfortunately lost it on a park bench. The chances of Hopkins finding that very copy are so slim that it has to be a glitch in reality where the lines between coincidence and destiny blur. It just makes us wonder, is there some unseen force that was at play just ensuring that Hopkins got his hands on this very elusive book? I don't know, it's just too strange. I can't explain it. It freaks me out. The strange life of Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette is filled with many twists and turns, but one particular coincidence stands out as almost too eerie to ignore. On June 21st, 1791, the royal couple was arrested while attempting to escape from France during the height of the French Revolution, a moment that marked the beginning of their tragic downfall. However, what makes this event even more uncanny is a seemingly innocent diary entry made by Louis XVI exactly 18 years earlier. On that same day, June 21st, Louis wrote that he hoped never to undertake a journey on that day again, as if he had some premonition of what the future held. Fast forward almost 2 decades, and the date he had hoped to avoid became the very day his fate was sealed. This peculiar coincidence adds a mysterious layer to their story, making me wonder if this was more than just a quirk of history, perhaps a glitch in reality reality, where destiny and foresight collided in an unforgettable way. The mysterious case of Joseph Figlock is a story that almost defies belief. In 1950, Figlock, an ordinary man in Detroit, was walking down the street when out of nowhere, a baby fell from a high window and landed directly on him. Both he and the baby survived the frightening incident, okay, don't freak out, with Figlock's presence likely having saved the child's life. As if this wasn't bizarre enough, a year later, Figlock found himself in an almost identical situation. Once again, he was walking the same street and another baby fell from the exact same window and landed on him. Incredibly, both he and the baby survived this second fall as well. The odds of such an event happening once are super low, but twice? It's the kind of coincidence that makes you wonder if reality just glitched. You know, we're back in the loop, we're back in Groundhog's Day. At least this one has a happy ending though, you know? That's something I can get behind. Edgar Allan Poe's novel, the narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym, written in 1838, tells the haunting tale of a shipwreck where the desperate survivors, driven to the brink, resort to consuming one of their own, ultimately sacrificing a cabin boy named Richard Parker. As eerie as this fictional story is, reality took a chilling turn nearly 50 years later when, in 1884, a real shipwreck unfolded under strikingly similar circumstances. The survivors, stranded and starving, made the harrowing decision to kill and consume one of their own to stay alive. In a twist that seems almost too bizarre to be true, the unfortunate victim was also a cabin boy, and his name was Richard Parker. The uncanny resemblance between Poe's dark fiction and the grim reality that followed has led many to wonder if this was more than just a coincidence. Honestly, I myself, since I heard this story a few years ago, have been convinced that Edgar Allan Poe's a time traveler. I don't know, that seems more logical than anything else, which is crazy to say. The case of the Carol A. Deering is one of those maritime mysteries that continues to baffle and intrigue, and if you've been a fan of this channel for a while, you've definitely heard the story of the Carol A. Deering before. In 1921, the Carol A. Deering, a commercial schooner, was found mysteriously aground off the coast of North Carolina, with its crew having vanished without a trace. The ship was in good condition, the food was laid out as if the crew had simply just stepped away, yet there was no sign of the men anywhere. What makes this case even stranger is that another ship, the SS Hewitt, disappeared around the same time and in the same general area, adding to the sense that something otherworldly might have been at play. These two eerie events happening so close together have fueled theories of mysterious phenomenon. Whether it was a Bermuda Triangle type scenario or an interdimensional glitch or I don't know, something else entirely, the Carol A. Deering remains a haunting reminder that some corners of history might just be too strange to fully understand, leaving us to wonder if these events were part of a reality that momentarily went off script.
In our number 5 spot, we have the remote. This story sounds a little bit more like they may be housing a ghost rather than it was a Matrix glitch, but since the latter is what this Reddit user believes, I'll leave that up to you to decide. Apparently, a woman and her husband lost their TV remote and could not find it anywhere, that they decided to order a new one. Naturally, on the day the remote was being dropped off, this woman went to her door to get the remote from the delivery person, brought it inside, went to her couch to sit down and watch TV, only to look down and see her old remote sitting in the middle of the carpet in front of the TV. What? That's too crazy to not be a ghost, right? I don't know, maybe it was a Matrix glitch. Would love to know your thoughts in the comment section below. In our number 4 spot, we have the milk cartons. This one is so movie-like, it's creepy. A man was pouring himself a cup of tea, and as always, he put some milk in his tea. He heard the doorbell ring, so he put the milk in the fridge and then went to answer the door. When he came out, he saw the milk beside his tea. He thought, Well, that's weird. I thought I put the milk in the fridge. So he goes to put the milk in the fridge, and lo and behold, there are 2 milk cartons. He swears that he never bought a second milk. Whoa, this was definitely a glitch of the Matrix. Please, universe, let me experience something like this in my life. In our number 3 spot, we have the prediction. This Reddit user was 40 years old and recently divorced and just chatting to an employee at the time when she suddenly saw a flash in her mind of her being married to this employee and with 2 kids, and they were living somewhere hot. Flash forward to 5 years in the future where she is actually married to this guy, has 2 kids, and he just recently got a promotion to move to the Middle East. Is this one a glitch or a psychic prediction? And are glitches just psychic predictions? I think possibly yes, but curious to know your thoughts. In our number 2 spot, we have 2 women eat times 3. In this photo, there appears to be 2 women in 3 consecutive booths, one after the other, and they are each wearing the same color or a version of the shade in the exact place. Each woman seems to have similar hairstyles, with the color only changing slightly due to the age. Many people have speculated that the picture shows us 3 alternate reality dimensions where one of the women is older or younger, her hair is a bit shorter, etc. And I would have to agree. How is this even real? How did all of these women choose the same restaurant, and how are they seated beside each other? Huh? Clearly this photo is a blip in the Matrix and showing us 3 realities. In our number 1 spot, we have the bald spots. This photo is crazy. So crazy that it just had to be in first. What are the odds of 5 men with the same bald spot all sitting on the same bus in a seat that is one after the other? How? Something happened in the Matrix that day, clearly, and it created this blip. This is honestly magical to look at. Seeing this just brought the biggest smile to my face and put me in a state of wonder about the mysteries of the world that are yet to be discovered.
You think reality is solid and predictable? Well, think again. From strange lights dancing in the night sky to top secret government experiments gone wrong, our world is full of genuine mysteries that still boggle the mind. In this video, we'll jump into some of the craziest glitches and unexplained phenomena out there, all based on true events or declassified projects. Get ready for some jaw-dropping stories, each more bizarre than the last. Buckle up, because reality might not be as straightforward as you think. Imagine a World War II destroyer disappearing into a green fog. Literally vanishing. That's the claim of the legendary Philadelphia experiment. According to lore, in October 1943, the USS Eldridge was outfitted with secret equipment that rendered it invisible and even teleported it 200 miles away. Witnesses allegedly saw a green mist, and when the ship reappeared, crewmen were inexplicably fused to the metal or driven insane. The US Navy, however, has debunked this story. Official archives say no such teleportation experiment ever occurred, and that Eldridge was never even in Philadelphia at the time. Still, the tale persists as a mind-bending glitch, a mix of rumor, a novel, and possibly misinterpreted World War II tests. Picture walking on a beach and stumbling over a rotten, strange beast, a fur-covered blob with sharp teeth and no eyes. That is exactly what happened at Montauk, New York in 2008. A hunter found a decaying carcass washed ashore and snapped photos of this Montauk monster, sparking wild speculation. News reports said the creature looked otherworldly. Some claimed it was a secret lab animal from Plum Island, or even a leftover of a notorious Montauk Project experiments. More on that later. Experts eventually suggested it was probably a bloated raccoon carcass, but the mystery caught fire online. For days, people debated whether this was science, conspiracy, or a plain animal that nobody could recognize. It was Christmas 1980 in Suffolk, England, and US Air Force personnel at 2 bases saw something straight out of science fiction. Late on December 26th, witnesses reported strange lights flashing above Rendlesham Forest. Men with radar even tracked an object disappear behind the trees. A patrol sent in found a triangular craft with glowing lights and 3 landing legs. When soldiers approached, the craft vanished and some men lost consciousness for a few minutes during the encounter. The next night, the deputy base commander led a larger search party. They measured abnormally high radiation at the strange landing site, and multiple groups watched colored beams, a dome-shaped object, and figures moving inside it. To this day, the UFO landing remains one of the most credible military encounters on record. Even a US senator secretly investigated and hinted it was linked to other unexplained UFO events. Whether you believe in aliens or not, the Rendlesham Forest incident is a documented reality bend that has never been fully explained. Deep in a Norwegian valley, something glowing and inexplicable has been appearing since the 1980s. Residents of Hessdalen started seeing mysterious lights in the sky, glowing orbs hovering over the valley floor, darting through the woods, and even following vehicles. Hundreds of these lights were logged. At the peak, up to 20 per week would pop up above Hessdalen. Scientists got involved, of course. In 1983, they launched Project Hessdalen to record and study the phenomenon. In 1 month of field work, they documented 53 occurrences. The lights are typically white or yellow, sometimes pulsating or moving in odd ways. Even today, local cameras capture about 20 sightings a year. No one has nailed down a definitive cause, and theories range from unusual atmospheric plasma to car headlights on distant roads. Okay, this one is terrifyingly real. The US government did conduct mind control experiments on unwitting people. In the 1950s and 60s, the CIA ran a secret program called MK-Ultra to explore chemical interrogation and behavior control. Under MK-Ultra, agents dosed hospital patients, prisoners, and even unsuspecting civilians with certain illicit substances. They tried hypnosis, electroshock, and sensory deprivation. Anything to manipulate the human mind. Most records of MK-Ultra were ordered destroyed, but enough evidence leaked out. We know that it happened. Government reviewers have confirmed MK-Ultra was active in the 1950s and that many original documents were purposely shredded by top CIA officials. The full extent of the experiments is still unknown, and in casual terms, the CIA really did try to make people hallucinate and break them mentally, a shocking glitch in reality where trusted institutions harmed real human beings.
In Monza, Italy, King Umberto I and a local restaurant owner had a very strange encounter. The two men were nearly identical in appearance, first off, down to their face and build, and after discussing their striking resemblance, they discovered even more eerie similarities. Both were born on March 14th of 1844 in the same town. Both men had married women named Margherita. The restaurant owner even opened his restaurant on the same day that King Umberto was crowned King of Italy. Then on July 29th, 1900, King Umberto was informed that the restaurant owner had been killed that day in a mysterious accident. Well, just after the king received the news, an anarchist named Gaetano Bresci fired at the king 4 times, killing him instantly. The man had been seeking to avenge the people killed in Milan during the suppression of the riots in May of 1898. This next story is unbelievable and incredibly beautiful in a way. So in 1914, a German mother had her infant son's photo taken and left the film to be developed at a store in Strasbourg. When World War I broke out though, she couldn't go back for it, of course, so she just assumed that she'd never get to see the photo. Well, fast forward 2 years and she bought a new film plate in Frankfurt to take a picture of her newborn daughter. She developed the photo and was upset at first. There was something wrong with the picture, but when she looked more closely, she noticed the photo was a double exposure. Her daughter's picture was overlaid with her son from 2 years before. Somehow her original undeveloped film had been mislabeled as unused and was sold back to her. So she finally got to develop her son's photo, just not in the way she'd been expecting. In 1838, Edgar Allan Poe wrote the narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym of Nantucket, where the crew of a stranded ship draws straws to decide who will be sacrificed for food. The unlucky soul is a cabin boy named Richard Parker, who ends up being killed and eaten by the others. In true Poe fashion, it's a grim tale, but unlike his more fantastical work, this one would actually play out in real life. In 1884, a ship sank, and the survivors were stranded at sea, starving. They drew straws to determine who would be sacrificed, and the person picked was the cabin boy, whose name was Richard Parker. Fictional account from nearly half a century earlier seemed to mirror a real-life event, almost like the story had somehow been predicting the future. Henry Ziegland was born in 1861 in Honeygrove, Texas. He was a farmer who got involved with a woman named Charla Harris, but in 1883 he ended the relationship. Charla was devastated. So devastated that she ended up taking her own life. Her brother was completely distraught. He blamed Henry for his sister's death and decided that he wanted some revenge. Well, one day he snuck into Henry's barn with a firearm and fired at him. The bullet only grazed Henry, but he smartly played dead. What Henry didn't know, though, was that the bullet had lodged itself into a tree by the barn. Well, 20 years later, Henry decided he was going to chop down that very tree. It was too thick for an axe, so he decided he'd need to blow it up. When the explosion went off, Henry died instantly. It wasn't from the blast. The bullet that had been lodged in the tree 2 decades earlier flew out at him. Absolutely nuts. A man appears out of thin air at Disneyland like an NPC in a video game. A woman opens her jewelry box to find a third identical ring that was not there before, and during a live airport interview, a woman simply vanishes mid-shot. These are real-time reality glitches were caught on camera. Disneyland, the most magical place on earth, they say. I've never been, but I think I might need to check it out now, because apparently if you're lucky enough, at just the right moment, you may have a big bearded man in a red shirt teleport out of nowhere right in front of you. Take a look for yourself. Wow. It's breathtaking. I can almost feel the spirit of my long-buried childhood dreams rising up through my ever-decaying body as we speak. You know what? Maybe, just maybe, magic really does exist. Who is the bearded, red-shirt man? Is he from some other place and time? The ghost of a long-forgotten, starry-eyed park guest? A father forever doomed to stroll the park in search of a family that has long since moved on after his untimely passing? Or is he just a man like you and me? If you are a man, that is. A person, how about? Is he just a person like you and me who done got glitched? We may never know, and that's the real magic, my friends. In the early 2000s, we have The Lord of the Rings, but in 2025, TikTok proudly presents yet another epic saga involving finger jewelry. Ladies and gentlemen, buys and tries, this is the beloved classic tale finally brought to the computer screen, The Glitch of the Rings. So this lady was about to head out to the house for a dental appointment. She takes off her rings and goes to put them in her jewelry box. The last thing you ever want to do is show up at the dentist with a ring on your finger. Well, when she opens her jewelry box, she notices that there's suddenly a third copy of one of her rings. Where, oh where, did that third copy of the ring come from? Did two realities cross over, causing a glitch? Is there a parallel universe running right next to this one where this same lady is making a TikTok video being like, one of my rings is missing? Probably, yes. I can't think of another explanation, so that means there isn't one. So this happened during a live TV interview at a Copenhagen airport. A guy is being interviewed for a Danish sports center, and in the background, there's a lot going on. Like most airports, there are people grabbing their bags, chatting, usual airport stuff. But keep your eye on the woman with the blonde hair. Now, at one point, right in front of her, you see a woman with a luggage cart. The woman with the luggage passes by the blonde woman just for a brief, very brief moment, and then this happens. The woman just vanishes. Where'd she go? She's there 1 second, and then she's gone right in the middle of the shot. There's no obvious edit. It's not a camera cut. Naturally, people online started losing their minds, trying to figure out how that even happened. It's probably just a weird perspective thing, but still, it's a very bizarre watch. I just hope that woman isn't somewhere in the Twilight Zone or something. Now, what exactly happened here? This dude throws a flip-flop into the air, which just vanishes out of thin air on its way back down. Already insane, but then the guys are looking up at this small glowing light in the sky. Take a look at this. It's just hovering there in place right over their heads, and then it zips away. I don't know how to describe what I just watched. Addressing the flip-flop part first though, I read one commenter saying that it just fell onto or behind the roof in the background, which no. Watch it again. That is not what that looks like at all. The flip-flop is thrown directly overhead and the roof is behind them, plus it vanishes while still in the air. It doesn't look like something falling behind another object. Some people are saying the weird orb thing is a bird. If so, why is it just hovering in place like that? Also, it doesn't look or move like a bird at all. At least not a bird I've ever seen. Small drone, maybe, but a bird? I don't think so. The internet. If it didn't exist, we'd never get to witness inexplicable stuff like this unless it showed up on America's Funniest Home Videos or something. Don't film TikTok dances alone in dingy underground parking lots. You might have a shadow person morph out from the concrete and lurk behind your back. That's what happened to this girl. You gotta look really closely, but something does seem to appear right behind her, a dark, shadowy figure. Not ominous at all. Who or what is it? Where did it come from? What does it want? I can't say. I just hope this girl wasn't engulfed by some nefarious dark force and dragged down to the depths of the shadow realm for eternity. If anyone knows if this person's done videos since, give us like a proof of life update in the comments.
This one isn't a glitch in the video, it's a glitch in the broadcast itself, and it's straight up like something out of a techno thriller. In November 1987, Chicago sportscaster Dan Roan was doing the nightly news when suddenly the signal hijacked. TV screens went black for a second, and then viewers were suddenly staring at a bizarre figure. Someone in a Max Headroom mask bobbing around in front of a swiveling metal background. No sound, just 30 seconds of this super creepy masked intruder. Engineers managed to regain control on that channel, but it wasn't over. About 2 hours later, during a Doctor Who episode on another station, Max Headroom hacker struck again, this time with audio. The masked person spoke in distorted garbles, laughed, moaned, even exposed their bare behind to the camera while being spanked with a fly swatter. Yeah, it was really weird. After about 90 seconds, the pirate broadcast ended. Viewers and station officials were completely baffled. Who was that? How did they break into major TV station signals? The Federal Communications Commission launched an investigation, but to this day, the culprits have still never been caught or identified. Even decades later, watching the Max Headroom incident on YouTube will give you a serious case of the heebie-jeebies. Somebody has the chance to have the best deathbed confession of all time. Imagine your grandfather, you're saying your final goodbyes, and he's like, I was Max Headroom. That would be crazy. When a news crew went looking for ghost stories, they might have gotten more than they bargained for. In 2021, WNYT News Channel 13 in upstate New York did a live report from the Green Ridge Cemetery as part of a Halloween segment. Reporter Sam Hessler was on air in the pre-dawn hours, walking among the tombstones while a guide shared spooky historical tales. The broadcast went smoothly until viewers at home noticed something on their screens that even the crew on site missed. In the background, behind Sam, a misty white figure seemed to drift between the graves. It was brief and subtle, a flicker of what looked like a person or a fog moving fast. After the live shot, one astonished viewer alerted the station, and Sam herself was stunned reviewing the footage. She hadn't seen anything in person. WNYT later acknowledged the eerie moment, assuring folks the clip was unedited and truly aired live. The internet, of course, lit up with ghost caught on live TV posts and theories. Some paranormal enthusiasts called it one of the best accidental ghost sightings on a news broadcast, evidence of a spirit roaming the cemetery. Skeptics countered that it could have been a camera glitch, a passing car's headlights reflecting, or even a stray piece of insect or dust close to the lens creating a blur. The station's own write-up teased it as something almost too crazy to be real and encouraged viewers to watch and decide for themselves. You're watching HGTV and suddenly an emergency alert pops up warning that the end of the world is here. What do? That nightmare scenario actually happened to some TV viewers in Southern California in September 2017. Without warning, regular programming was interrupted by the emergency alert system. The typical alert banner scrolled, but then things got truly terrifying. A booming male voice came on and proclaimed, "Realize this, that in the last days extremely violent times will come." Imagine hearing that out of the blue on a Thursday morning and you're just trying to love it or list it. Understandably, people freaked out. It sounded like a prophecy of an imminent apocalypse or some wartime broadcast. As dramatic as it was, this turned out not to be the work of pranksters or an alien overlord, but simply a technical glitch and incredibly bad timing during a routine test of the emergency alert system. In short, the system glitched out and aired a fire and brimstone sermon by mistake. Cox and Spectrum cable customers heard what sounded like a doomsday warning, but it was just Pastor Chuck Swindoll quoting the Bible, 2 Timothy 3:1, on an FM station. Both the cable company and the FCC confirmed it was an error, not a hack, but not before scaring the heck out of viewers. In the middle of a live US Congress debate, viewers suddenly saw something Russian. In January 2017, politics junkies watching a C-SPAN online feed got a strange surprise. The feed, which was showing a live House of Representatives session, abruptly switched to Russia Today, the Kremlin-funded news channel, for about 10 minutes. Given that this occurred amid intense news about Russian cyber interference, many thought C-SPAN had been hacked by Russians in real time. C-SPAN quickly investigated and put out a statement. They didn't believe it was a hack, but rather a routing technical error. The leading theory is that some glitch caused the RT feed to literally overlap and replace the C-SPAN feed on their site. In simulation terms, it's like two different programs momentarily cross-wired. The timing, however, was almost comical. It happened just hours after a power outage oddly halted a Senate hearing about Russian hacking. Even Waters, whose speech was interrupted, remarked on the curious timing and demanded a clear explanation. Seeing Moscow news pop up in a US government broadcast felt like a scene from a spy movie, or a reminder that the simulation has a twisted sense of humor. Our final glitch was literally one word caught in an endless loop, and of course, that word was Russia. Also in January 2017, I guess a bad month for TV gremlins, MSNBC's show Hardball experienced a freaky moment. Journalist Dave Ignatius was talking to host Chris Matthews about, ironically, Russian interference in US politics. He said the word Russia and bang. The screen flickered and started repeating Russia, Russia, Russia over and over in a feedback loop. Chris Matthews looked confused as the glitch kept going for several seconds, echoing Russia in a creepy cadence until the control room cut to commercial. Given the climate at the time, Twitter exploded with jokes that Moscow hackers or the Kremlin Matrix had struck again, but most likely this was just a bizarre technical malfunction. Perhaps a failing satellite feed or encoding error that caused a few seconds of audio/video to loop. The fact it looped that particular word on that particular topic, well, that was gold for conspiracy lovers and also late night comedians. MSNBC assured it wasn't intentional and nothing nefarious was found. If we do live in a simulation, it definitely has a flair for dramatic irony.
Number 5, rain glitch. This one comes from Paris, when a man decided to take this video one day when the weather was acting up. Anytime you film weather, you always know it's going to be a bad time. First of all, it's not abnormal for rain to hit one part of a city while other parts stay dry with clear skies. I've been there before. It's trippy, it's kind of fun, whatever. But this one here, this one takes the cake. It's just raining in one spot, like literally one specific spot. One tiny spot is absolutely getting poured down on, seemingly out of nowhere. But everywhere else is not. It's just a casual, nice day. Now at first I thought that maybe someone from above was pouring water, maybe, because that's what people do, I guess, in their spare time. But the video does pan up and you see nothing above this random rainfall, so we can check that off our boxes. Birds are real. There's thousands of people who are gathering outside and protesting against birds. I don't know what's going on. This glitch comes from a Reddit user called AmerXPOO from the time that they captured some birds behaving very strangely. So think what you want, but I think birds are real. Whatever. I'll let you take a look at the clip first and then we'll talk shop afterwards. When I first watched this, I 100% thought that it was photoshopped. I truly cannot believe that I was seeing this because there's just no way, right? From what you're seeing, these are animals. From the coordination of the flying all the way to the ripples of the color changes, I thought this was fake the entire time. It's not. As it turns out, this is actually perfectly explainable. This is called a murmur, and it basically is a defensive posture that birds take. Truly one of the coolest things that I've ever seen, hence why I thought that it was unbelievable. And there are more videos of it that you can actually look up, and I implore you to because it's fascinating. This is like bird choreography. This is next level. People don't believe that birds are real, and videos like this make me agree. Yeah, fair. 1 point for like bird Gryffindor. Are seagulls real? Pigeons aren't real. Pigeons are fucking weird. And finally, number 1, twins named Jim. Back in 1979, a set of twins were reunited. They were 39 at the time, and this was of course a big moment in their lives because for 37 years they barely knew of each other's existence. Yeah, that's pretty sad. When they did finally meet, the long lost twins had more in common than anybody ever thought. For starters, both had been named Jim. I spoiled that one in the fun title there, but both of these Jims, they loved math and carpentry. Okay. Both also had jobs in security. Okay. Their ex-wives were both named Linda. Okay. And they've since both married a woman named Betty. That's so many coincidences, I have no idea what's going on. Imagine meeting another you and he's like, oh yeah, I love knitting and Autobots. What are the odds? No way, that's way too eerie. That's a glitch in the Matrix or an alien clone. Something's not right here. I don't know. I'm glad you guys found each other, but maybe you weren't supposed to. Know what I mean? I've seen some movies. I've seen Black Mirror. That's all I'm saying.
Imagine a world where history occasionally malfunctions, where the line between coincidence and the impossible blurs, leaving us questioning the very fabric of reality. From eerie predictions that come true decades later to identical tragedies repeating themselves with uncanny precision, some events in history are so bizarre that they feel like glitches in the Matrix. Buckle up as we dive into the most mind-bending coincidences in history that might just make you wonder if our reality is as stable as we think. The Curse of Tamerlane's Tomb is one of those eerie tales that makes you wonder if history sometimes has a supernatural twist. In 1941, Soviet archaeologists decided to open the tomb of Tamerlane, a formidable 14th century Turco-Mongol conqueror. Inside, they found a chilling inscription that read, quote, "Whomsoever opens my tomb shall unleash an invader more terrible than I." Just 3 days later, an invasion of the Soviet Union began, leading many to believe that the curse had been triggered by disturbing the tomb. The timing was so uncanny that it's hard not to see it as something more than just coincidence. Interestingly, the curse is also linked to the Soviet victory in a major battle, which some attribute to Tamerlane's remains being reburied according to Islamic tradition shortly before the tide turned. Whether you believe in curses or not, the story of Tamerlane's tomb certainly adds a mysterious layer to the events of that extremely turbulent time in history. The King Umberto I coincidence is one of those stories that feels like it could only happen in a novel, but it's actually entirely true. In 1900, King Umberto I of Italy decided to dine at a small restaurant where he was astonished to find that the owner was his exact double. But the similarities didn't stop there. Both men shared the same name, were born on the same day in the same town, and even married women named Margarita. It's the kind of coincidence that makes you question whether the universe was playing some kind of cosmic joke. The next day, things took an even stranger turn. The restaurant owner was tragically shot and killed. Later, that very same day, King Umberto I met a similar fate as he was assassinated during a public event. The bizarre series of events leaves us wondering if this was more than just chance, a glitch in reality where two identical lives were eerily intertwined and ended in the same tragic manner. I don't know, it's insane. Like, I can't explain that at all. Not even the death thing is like crazy, but it's like, how do they have the same name, born on the same day, in the same town, married people of the same name? Like, that just, it's too much for me. The cross-country coincidence is one of those stories that seems too strange to be true. In 1975, Erskine Lawrence Eben was tragically struck and killed by a taxi while riding his moped in Bermuda. What makes this incident truly mind-boggling is that it was an almost exact replay of a tragedy that occurred exactly 1 year earlier. In 1974, Erskine's brother Neville was also riding that same moped in the same intersection when he was killed by the same taxi, driven by the same driver and even carrying the same passenger. I could not have said same more in that sentence. The chances of such a precise and tragic repetition are so astronomically low that it feels like reality just momentarily glitched, playing out the same fatal scenario twice as if stuck in a loop. It's like a nightmare Groundhog Day. This eerie coincidence leaves us wondering if there's something more at play, something beyond mere chance that defies our understanding of how the world works. If anybody knows, let me know. The phantom time hypothesis is one of the most mind-bending ideas to come out of historical theory, almost like it's from a science fiction novel. Proposed by historian Herbert Illig, this theory suggests that the period between 614 and 911 AD never actually happened. That it was just entirely fabricated. According to Illig, this would mean that we're not actually living in 2024, but rather in 1727, with nearly 300 years of history being nothing more than an elaborate collective illusion. The implications of this theory are staggering, as it would mean that events like Charlemagne's reign and the early Middle Ages were either exaggerated or just completely invented. This idea of a massive historical glitch where entire centuries were inserted into the timeline challenges everything we think we know about history. While mainstream historians remain skeptical, the phantom time hypothesis continues to fascinate those who enjoy pondering whether our understanding of the past, and by extension, our present, might be based on a glitch in reality itself. Just one other thing to send me into an existential crisis. I love it. Alright. The mystery of the London hammer is one of those puzzling discoveries that challenges our understanding of history and just leaves us questioning reality itself. In 1936, a hammer was found in London, Texas, but this wasn't just any ordinary tool. The hammer was embedded in rock that, according to geological estimates, is around 400 million years old. An era long before humans, let alone their tools, were supposed to exist. This bizarre find has baffled scientists and sparked all sorts of theories, from the possibility of time slips to the idea of alternate realities where different timelines somehow intersected. How could a man-made object end up trapped in ancient rock? The hammer's presence in such an anachronistic setting is more than just a curiosity, it is a mystery that seems to defy the laws of time and logic, making me wonder if it's evidence of a glitch in the fabric of reality itself. I don't know. I can't explain any of these things we're speaking about. I'm just here to report the news and then stress about it later.
In our number 10 spot, we have the same shirt. In this instance, a man was out at a restaurant and was about to eat a meal when he discovered something weird. The man seated behind him had the same shirt as him. But if you think that's funny and a bit strange, imagine a third man seated in the seat behind the second guy, and he had the same shirt on too. What are the odds that 3 people with the same shirt would be seated in 3 consecutive tables, one after the other, in the same place? Definitely a glitch in the universe. In our number 9 spot, we have Time War. This is a story told by a Reddit user who took the same route to get to work every single day. This route would be 45 minutes there and 45 minutes back. With traffic, it was a bit more. So, anyways, it of course blew his mind when one day he went the same route to work and got there in 30 minutes, which he says is impossible. He checked his phone and sure enough, he saw a text from 30 minutes prior about leaving the house. Till this day, he is convinced that somehow he went through a glitch in the Matrix. This actually has happened to me before, but it was as if I was sleeping on my drive home, as I don't remember getting from one place to the other. Maybe it's best I just don't drive. In our number 8 spot, we have the triple van. If you thought the same t-shirt was weird, then what about the same red van that's the same make, year, and model, all in a lineup, one after the other at a toll booth? Mind blown. If that is not a glitch in the universe, then I don't know what is. Unless they are all besties who have the same things and decided to get the same cars, this is truly wild. What do you think? Is this proof that we probably live in a simulation? Let me know in the comment section below. In our number 7 spot, we have couple swap. I love this one as it is truly very, very strange. In this photo, you see 2 couples at the same restaurant and they appear to be wearing the opposite of each other, but they look quite similar. The man on one side is wearing pink and the man on the other side is wearing green. The woman on one side is wearing pink and the woman on the other side is wearing green. They are the exact same shades of these 2 colors, and what makes this picture even weirder is that the men both have white hair and the women both have black hair. If you were to put a mirror between them, it would almost be like they are from different opposite dimensions. In our number 6 spot, we have the 3 blondes. Another photo that I'm sure is proof that we are living in the Matrix, y'all. This is a photo of 3 women on a bus that have the same 80s blonde blowout, are wearing black leather jackets and blue jeans. Also, they are all seemingly sitting the same. Whoa, this is wild to me. I hope someone on the bus pointed this out to them so they could all meet their real life doppelgangers. Did 3 different versions of the same woman from different dimensions collide for this one bus ride? I sure hope so.
This one sounds completely made up, but has a cult following. In the 1970s and 80s, a decommissioned Air Force base at Montauk, Camp Hero, was rumored to host ultra-secret experiments. In 1992, book Montauk Project Experiments in Time claimed that Montauk became ground zero for bizarre research, from mind control and psychic spying to time travel and dimensional portals. According to the story, scientists built a giant radar tower and tunnel system under Camp Hero. Conspiracy believers talk about thousands of people being taken and turned into these mutant super soldiers controlled by the program. The authors claimed they themselves recovered memories of being experimented on there. There's zero official proof that this ever happened, and the book is widely considered fiction, but the legend still persists. To many, this is a glitch in history, a sensational mix of truth and tall tales that links secret Cold War tech with ideas ripped from a comic book. Whether real or not, the Montauk Project conspiracy adds a very strange chapter to our reality's more unbelievable stories. Imagine a thunderstorm. Suddenly, a fiery ball about the size of a basketball floats into the room through the window and then zaps out of existence. Sounds impossible, and that's exactly what numerous eyewitnesses claim happens with ball lightning. Across history, people report glowing spheres darting through air storms, lasting a few seconds and then vanishing or exploding. Scientists have taken these reports seriously. In fact, a recent review notes that thousands of eyewitness accounts exist, but no one has a solid theory for ball lightning. Instruments rarely capture it since it's unpredictable, so most evidence is anecdotal. The lack of consensus means ball lightning remains a genuine unsolved mystery in atmospheric physics. In other words, nature itself can occasionally glitch, creating luminous orbs that defy explanation and leave observers scratching their heads. Here's a glitch from the world of radio. Imagine you hit the button on your ham radio and call out, "Hello." Then 10 seconds later, you come back on the radio answering yourself. That is the bizarre, long-delayed echo phenomenon. First recorded in 1927 by Norwegian hobbyist Jørgen Hals, he heard a faint echo of a Dutch radio station's signal about 3 seconds after the original transmission. To this day, occasionally a strong radio pulse will return with a multi-second delay, far longer than normal skywave bounces, which take fractions of a second. Scientists have proposed everything from Earth's magnetosphere reflections to bouncing off spacecraft, but there is no consensus explanation. It's a genuine time warp effect in real life. You speak into the ether and then hear an answer way later, as if reality itself slowed down the signal. Late at night, you tune your shortwave radio and suddenly a monotone voice starts reciting random numbers. 7, 3, 4, over and over again. No music, no announcer, just mysterious numbers. These are numbers stations, and they date back to at least World War I. To most of us, they sound spooky and inexplicable, but they are real. Espionage experts believe these stations broadcast coded messages to spies in the field. The sequences of numbers are prearranged codes. Only the intended listener with a matching key can decode them. The stations often have catchy nicknames, and they pop up at scheduled times or seemingly sometimes at random. Despite being understood as spy tools, they feel mysterious. Strangers on the airwaves shouting numbers with no explanation. Amateur sleuths still hunt for new stations and try to crack their codes. Number stations are a real-life oddity, a ghostly radio background of human history that feels as if reality is speaking in cipher. The harsh Ural Mountains of 1959 saw one of history's most gruesome mysteries. A group of 9 experienced Russian hikers set up camp on the slope of a mountain pass, now named Dyatlov Pass. But something terrifying happened that night. Searchers later found the tent slashed open from the inside, and the hikers' belongings were left behind. The bodies were scattered around. 2 were found half-dressed near a fire as if they fled the tent in panic. Some of the deceased had bizarre injuries. 1 had a fractured skull, another a twisted neck. 2 were missing their eyes, and 1 woman had no tongue. The Soviet investigators could only rule it as an unknown compelling force that had taken their lives. Decades later, explanations range from avalanches to military tests to Yeti attacks, but none fits all the facts. In short, this remains an unsolved glitch in history. People found dead under inexplicable conditions with no clear culprit. I know depending on who you ask, some say that this case is solved, but the Dyatlov Pass incident still haunts researchers because reality refuses to make sense of what happened that night.
A poker game that reunited a father and son in death, 2 of the most important figures in American history whose lives and deaths were eerily intertwined, and 2 men whose deaths oddly bookended the First World War. These are terrifying coincidences in history that could be glitches in reality. John Adams and Thomas Jefferson were 2 of the most important figures in American history. Despite their political differences, they grew closer later in life and actually became pretty good friends. What's really bizarre though is how both of them passed away on the same day. Now that's already quite a coincidence, but the day they passed away, July 4th, 1826, the 50th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, the very document they both helped draft. Adams at the age of 90 had been in relatively good health, but collapsed in his reading chair that afternoon. His last words reportedly were, "Jefferson still lives." But no, Jefferson had actually died earlier that day around noon, after battling illness for some time. News of their deaths circulated quickly, and across the nation commemorations were held to honor them. The circumstances surrounding their deaths are eerie for sure, but there's some beauty to this story as well. The pair have been political adversaries in the past, but toward the end of their lives they became friends, and in the end they were tied together in a way no one could have ever predicted. Their deaths on the same day have come to kind of symbolize the shared ideals and values that defined the founding of the United States. In 1858, a bizarre coincidence occurred in San Francisco that involved a poker game, a man's death, and an unlikely twist of fate. Robert Fallon, a British man, was killed for cheating at a poker game at the Bella Union Saloon. Fallon's $600 winnings were left behind. See, the superstition at the time was that money won through cheating was unlucky. So the players decided to give the $600 pot to the first stranger who walked by, hoping he'd take Fallon's place at the table and they'd eventually win all the money back. They called a young man over who sat down and incredibly turned that $600 into $2,200. Police soon arrived to investigate the guy who'd just been killed and asked for that $600 back so they could pass it on to Fallon's next of kin. Well, it turned out that Fallon's next of kin was right there at the table already. He was the stranger that had been walking by the saloon and took his father's place, only he didn't know it. He hadn't seen his father in 7 years. It's hard to say whether this next woman had terrible luck or incredible luck. It's a kind of a perfect blend of both, really. Violet Jessup's life sounds like something out of a movie, but it's all true. This Irish-Argentine woman survived the sinking of both the Titanic and its sister ship, the Britannic. On April 14, 1912, Jessup was working as a stewardess on the Titanic when it struck an iceberg and began to sink. In the chaos, she was told to serve as an example to non-English speaking passengers, showing them how to board their lifeboats. She eventually made it off the ship, escaping in lifeboat 16. Speaking of the number 16, on November 21, 1916, Jessup was serving as a nurse on the Britannic when it hit a mine and began sinking in the Aegean River. She grabbed a lifeboat and held on, eventually being rescued. Remarkably, she'd also suffered an injury to her head during the incident. Now, the fact that she'd survived both of these incidents is amazing, but what makes it all even stranger is that before all of this, she'd also sailed on the RMS Olympic, which collided with a British warship in 1911. So she survived all three of these accidents. It just seems like the universe did not want this woman sailing on boats. The first and the last deaths of World War I are a chilling coincidence. John Parr and George Ellison were the first and last British soldiers killed during the war. Parr was killed on August 21st, 1914, only 17 days after Britain declared war. Then on November 11th, 1918, just 90 minutes before the war ended, George Ellison, age 40, was killed. What's strange is that the two soldiers are buried right across from each other in St. Symphorian Military Cemetery, Belgium, separated by only 15 feet of grass. And no, this was not done on purpose. Their graves were placed there without any knowledge of their first and last statuses at the time. Out of every British soldier who died in the First World War, the first and last to die lay right across from each other. It's as if history itself placed them together, almost bookending the war. In the 1920s, American novelist Anne Parrish had an eerie experience while in Paris. Also kind of sweet though. While browsing a bookstore, she came across an old book that she remembered fondly from her childhood, Jack Frost and Other Stories. She picked it up, showing it to her husband, telling him about how much she loved the book when she was young. Her husband went to open it, and he noticed there was an inscription on the inside: Anne Parrish, 209 North Weber Street, Colorado Springs. Turned out this was Anne's very same childhood copy of the book. I don't know what god this guy pissed off, but his life story sounds pretty biblical, in a wrathful punishment sort of way. This poor sap named Walter Summerford was struck by lightning 4 times, 3 times while he was alive and once after his death, just as a final middle finger from above. It all started in 1918 when Summerford, then a major in the British Army during World War I, was struck by lightning on a battlefield in Belgium. Already wild being struck by lightning as is, especially while in battle though, as if life wasn't already hard enough for him. Anyway, that was just strike 1, and it left him paralyzed from the waist down. He persevered though, and after finally recovering and retiring to Vancouver, where he had a solid 6 years lightning free, he was struck a second time while fishing, leaving him paralyzed on the right side. Somehow he survived again though. Then in 1930, while taking a walk in the park, one of the most innocent, inoffensive things a person can do, he was struck by lightning a 3rd time, this time leaving him bedridden until his death 2 years later. But as I said, he wasn't even off the hook yet, as his gravestone was then struck by lightning, making it the 4th strike in his life, or afterlife.